A new Monmouth University poll about President Trump has some really sad results. So everybody take a look at this here. 61% of Trump's supporters say they would never change their mind. They will always support him no matter what he does. 61%. Now, 57% of the people who disapprove of Trump say they would never change their mind either. Now, I think the media is doing a little bit of a false equivalence on this, and they're saying, yeah, the people who disapprove of him and would never approve of him, how dare they say that, along with how dare people say they'd never, disavow him. So, in other words, the people who say, yeah, I'd never change their mind, I'd disapprove of this guy, these are people who probably know what he's been doing. I mean, how many times we've covered all the different policy changes he's made, whether it's allowing coal companies to pollute the waterways. That was a big thing he did in terms of deregulation. He was signing these kinds of executive orders. His very first act he did as president was to raise taxes on the middle class by removing a tax credit that's geared towards first-time home buyers. He's been escalating all the different conflicts that we're in. He's been super unhinged with North Korea and basically prodding them and pushing us to the brink of war. Thankfully, Kim Jong-un at the last minute actually backed down and said, yeah, no, I'm good, bro. So you actually can look at what he's done, and based on the evidence, he's not helping the middle class. He's not being economically populist. He killed TPP, but then now he's in the middle of renegotiating NAFTA, and he's slipping provisions from the TPP into the renegotiation of NAFTA. So it was a trick. It was a scam. Hey, look at me. I'm good for the American worker. I killed TPP. Anyway, let's take a bunch of provisions, the worst ones, and put them into this renegotiation of NAFTA. So if you're educated on what he's doing, your conclusion is going to be, I totally disapprove of this guy. 100%. So the people who say, yeah, I disapprove of him and I'm not going to change my mind, I think they have the evidence on their side, and the best predictor of future action is past action, and so they go, yeah, I'm not going to change my mind on that. Look at all the damage he's already done. So I think they're right, the people who say that. Now, the other people, 61% who say they would never change their mind, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Because already, based on the evidence, he's been screwing over the American people, not helping the American people. He's a guy who said, I'm against the bankers, I'm against Wall Street, controlling our politics. Look at crooked Hillary Clinton, Ted Cruz taking money from Goldman Sachs. Sad. They're puppets. Sad. And then he hires Goldman Sachs to be in his administration. Steve Mnuchin, Gary Cohn, he hired the fucking president of Goldman Sachs. You want to talk about brazen hypocrisy? It's not even like, let me get this guy from Goldman Sachs who's a lower level. No, the fucking president. And they wrote his tax plan, and they presented his tax plan. His fucking Trump Care healthcare bill, every objective analysis of it, independent analysis, says, oh yeah, you're kicking off at least 20 million people from their health insurance. You're giving a giant tax cut to the rich of $200,000 each every single year. You're gutting $800 billion from Medicaid. So again, all the facts show he's a hypocrite, and he's pushing policies that would damage the American people. But 61% of his supporters go, yeah, I'm never going to change my mind. I'm always going to support him. Well, then you've turned this into a fundamentalist religion. This is Trumpianity. That's what this is. I mean, that's fucking crazy. You'll never change your mind. So you're saying evidence doesn't matter. You're saying I care more about the person than the principle. And that's the saddest thing I've ever heard, because that's not... If that's how you do politics, you're a pathetic idiot. Because you're supposed to have, okay, here are my beliefs, here's my set of beliefs. I favor these things, so I'm going to pick a politician who's going to represent those things. But if the politician said he was going to represent those things and then he doesn't, you're supposed to go, oh, well, I'm loyal to my principles. I'm not loyal to the person. This isn't a fucking cult I'm in. So I'm going to slam that person. It's like when Obama didn't push for Medicare for all, when he had a fucking supermajority, people on the left who were principled went, you fucked up. You fucked up. And I'm not happy about this. But 61% of Trump supporters say, whatever he does, I'll support him. How stupid are you? Do you have no beliefs, no core values? It is the saddest thing I've ever seen in my life. Now, the positive side of this is what? Guys, Trump only has a 30% approval rating right now. He has a 30% approval rating. So basically, since at the time they did this poll, only 30% of the country is a supporter of Trump. They're basically saying 60%, 61% of that 30% of the country are the ones who say they'll never change their mind on Trump. They'll always support him. So we're really talking about what? Like 18% of the country, or maybe 20% of the country, are the ride or die Trump believers. Like 18 to 20% of the country are like, he never does anything wrong. So in other words, he could fucking nuke a country. He could nuke North Korea and kill hundreds of thousands, if not millions of civilians. And only 18 to 20% of the country would say, yeah, I agree with that. So the good news is it is a crazy high number of people, let's be serious. But it's not like 40% of the country or 45% of the country or 50% of the country. It's only 18 to 20% of the country, which again is a super high number. But it's still not, like, it's not half the country. It's not like every Republican is like, yeah, Trump no matter what. You're talking about a little less than half of all Republicans. So that's the you know when Hillary Clinton spoke about the deplorables, the irredeemable deplorables? There's your irredeemable deplorables. It's 18 to 20% of the country are the ones who really view this thing like it's a fundamentalist religion, and they have their daddy who they just default agree with, and they don't think for themselves. They just rent their mind out to Trump and say, whatever he does is something I agree with. It doesn't matter. I don't care about the details. I don't give a shit. I'm 100% with him no matter what. It's 18 to 20% of the country. They're your irredeemable deplorables. The other ones are the ones that the Democrats need to reach out to and try to get on their side. The other ones are the people who really thought, like, okay, maybe Trump will be better because he seems more anti-establishment. Maybe he'll look out for my job more and won't outsource my job, and he'll bust up the bankers who've been screwing us all along. So there's more of them, even on the Republican side, than there are the irredeemable deplorables. But yeah, these motherfuckers are irredeemable deplorables. If you say no matter what, I mean, that's... And I know Godwin's law, oh my God, you can't invoke the Nazis ever, but sometimes it's appropriate when something is analogous. But what else do you call it when you have people who say, literally no matter what you do, I'll support you. It doesn't matter. Well, then you say, okay, I guess you support if they do fucking ethnic cleansing. Right? I mean, Trump's already been, when he campaigned, he said, we're going to bring back torture, it'll be tremendous, believe me. He said we have to take out their families when he campaigned, meaning the families of terrorists, not just the terrorists themselves, the families of terrorists. When his first military act killed a young girl, like an 8-year-old American girl. It was a botched raid that Obama didn't approve because he said there's no fucking evidence for it. And Obama wasn't even that strict with his standards because his drone strikes killed 90% the wrong people. But even Obama was like, hey, man, look, this raid is not a good idea because you're going to get a lot of civilians and there's no evidence that it'll work. Trump approved the raid and an 8-year-old American girl was killed. But 61% of Trump supporters will say what? I don't care. I don't care. He can kill civilians all day long. I don't care. I agree with him over any values or principles or core set of beliefs. So then don't get mad at people when they rightly point out that you're an irredeemable deplorable and you're an idiot, because that's exactly what you are.